All right, Danielle, go ahead.
The meeting tonight is for the conduct of town business by the town board. The public is invited to participate in the items marked on the agenda public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Can we please rise for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a moment of silence, please, for all the men and women who died to give us the right to stand here, and to our first responders, our police officers who did the same. Thank you. All right. So just a reminder that the public hearing is still open. Open forum for the March 14 Town Board meeting, the local law of the year 2022, amending the various provisions, Chapter 155 zoning and the Marlborough Town Code. It's still open until we hear back from Ulster County. They have 30 days to respond, so that's coming up soon. If we get recommendations, we'll share them with the board and the public, and then we would close the hearing, and then we would move forward based on those recommendations. So, any questions on local law change, Chapter 155 zoning? Okay, we're going to move on then to our workshop meeting tonight. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
So moved. Can you hear me out there? Because it looks like my mic went off here. Okay. All right. Motion to approve minutes from the March 14th, 2022 Town Board meeting. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And motion to approve minutes from the March 14th, 2022 public hearing. Need a motion?
Make that motion.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Authorized payment of bills in the amount of $183,808.73. I need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, supervisor updates. Only things I got tonight is just to let the public know that Tomback is moving forward. This week, the asbestos removal is going to start. He should be there tomorrow, starting setup. As you could see, if you were driving by, you could see that our highway department is moving along with the foundation. We're extending the building to 35 feet by 65 feet, and they've been moving along. They poured the footings and they put the panel walls up, and hopefully if the weather holds out, maybe by the end of the week or early next week, they'll be pouring the walls and the floor. So again, they saved us a ton of money up there. Bid should be ready by mid-April. CSX, myself and Gail and the committee met a few times with CSX. We pinpointed the location of where we want to have the crossing. Councilman Zambito was also there with us. We're going to be as close to the original crossing as we possibly can so we could keep the distance of their safety equipment outside of the road. So we're moving forward with that. Hopefully we'll have our design plan to give the CSX by next week, and then we'll move forward on that. And then up here, myself and Deputy Supervisor Appler met with Eric from American Cruise Line. The pier costs for the pilings are way, way too high, as we talked about in previous meetings. Just to give you an idea, because remember our last meeting I said we didn't have the exact number. Well, the exact number came in at $950,000. So obviously this board and myself, I'm not going to recommend to this board, and I wouldn't think our board is going to be moving forward on anything close to that. But we came up with an alternative design. and using fenders that actually are attached to the existing fenders that were there prior to us putting the new pier. So the wooden piles that are there from the existing pier are free floating. They're not attached to the current pier. So in looking at it, we have a good idea is we can actually put some floating, I call them marine piers, something similar to this. I just brought these up on, it's not going to open up, but something like this where they kind of hang off the side of the pier, off the chains. When the boat comes up to it, they could kind of, that takes the absorption, but the absorption is going to not be on our current new pier. These are going to be tied into the old wooden pier pilings that are there. Is that correct, Gail? Something similar to this? So it's a very realistic way to do this. It's something that's obviously less expensive. American Cruise Line, from our discussions, looks like they would pay to do all this work. And then we'd have to come up with agreements for a franchise agreement, them docking there, getting income for the town, for maintenance. They supply the dock master. We also have to get some tie-offs that have to be put in place for them to tie their boats down. But it seems promising if we go this route. The alternative routes with the original pilings is not going to be something that we're going to be able to do at this time. 2 reasons: the cost. Second reason, it doesn't make sense with the cost of steel right now. It just makes the project out of reach. So, but this could happen, and then we'd be getting boats here in the fall. So,
Do we know the value of this, Scott?
not yet. He's going to get the information, Eric, and he will present it to myself, and then I'll present it to the board.
When did they want to move on this, the American Cruise Line?
He'd like to move on this as soon as possible. He can't do anything at the pier yet. We're still waiting on Arbin to give us the weld inspections. It's supposed to be scheduled by next week. They're supposed to give me a schedule when they're going to do those inspections, but I have not got the date. But obviously, they can't go even next to the pier until that's done. But he wants to get this done before the fall, if it's doable, right? So they're going to talk to their engineers. They're going to talk to our engineers and make sure that what we're doing here doesn't jeopardize the pier in any way, right? Mm-hmm. So our understanding is that the existing floating pylons are not connected to the new pier, which is on steel pylons, right? So they're kind of like under the pier. The only thing is that we have to have a redesign of the floating dock, because that floating dock sticks out about, what, 2 feet, Gail, if I remember, something like that? So when the big ships come in, they need a way for that floating pier to be moved in, the 2 feet. So we were going to redesign how that's attached anyway. So in that redesign, we're going to kind of figure out, can we move that in 2 feet when the boat comes in, and then it could be pushed back out when you need it for the smaller boats. So there's a lot of things going on there, but I'll give you further updates as we go on. But I just wanted to give you some updates.
So how did they come up with this alternative? And if the original pier could absorb this weight
Because we
this
had
way,
a
why was that not a factor in the early stages
It
of
was
this?
something that was talked about by BJ originally. BJ's, I don't know if you remember,
Yeah.
but he came and said, just throw tires off the side of the pier and take the absorption. It's kind of similar, if you think about it. This is a better way than tires, but it's a similar solution. But when me and Gail went down there and we started looking with Eric, we started to understand that those old pier pilings aren't connected to the current new pier. So we're like, if we could utilize those, maybe this actually is doable, right? Because you don't want to have these attached right to our new steel pier, because the absorption has to be, where it's not going to affect our pier. Now, Eric says no matter what, they come in less than a half a knot when they come into the piers. And he told us they dock in Poughkeepsie. And that pier is like the size of the small pier that the firemen had done over about, 8 years ago now. So if they could dock at that pier and not damage it, they could surely dock at our pier and not damage it. But again, the details are in the pudding until we see those details and the engineer okays it, because I want our engineer to okay that this is okay before we move forward. But just give you an idea, this is where we're moving, because the other idea is not going to move forward at this point, unfortunately. Hindsight's 20/20. If we would have known what the cost was then, now, we would have spent maybe the $150,000
Absolutely.
back at that point, or approach these tour groups to spend the money back then, but that's where we're at, guys. So, next thing is presentation. Jasmine Taylor from the Girl Scouts Project. You want to come up? You got to come right up to the podium up here so we can hear you speak. And you just got to press the button so we can hear you. There you go.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Jasmine Taylor. I am a senior in Girl Scouts and I am a junior at Marlborough High School. So today I'm going to be talking about my Gold Award project. I would like to make a fun trail at the Cluett-Shantz Memorial Park. And as you might have seen my sketches before at the past meeting, I have them if anyone would like to look at them. And I want to make this especially for kids, any range really. I just want them to be active outside more and to stay active. But you guys did have questions about what paint supplies you would like me to use. And I went to Lowe's and I had a recommendation for Valspar's Zone Parking Paint. And it's especially good for parking lots and playgrounds and exactly what I would like to do. And it's good with weathering as well. So if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer them.
So I think your project is a great idea. I was a Girl Scout for a long time too, so I know what you're trying to do. I thank you for looking into the paint. That was definitely a concern that we had in terms of the maintenance and making sure that it stays legible and allows kids to play on it. I think my only question is I think we need to come up with a way to delineate that this is an official painting and that it's been approved so that it doesn't give others the idea that they can just come and paint whatever they want on the walkway. So I think we should just think about that and how you want to mark it, recognize it, so that we have something official there.
I was thinking of possibly having a sign made to like have it and then possibly a QR code also to explain what to do on the like fitness trail.
Great idea. I like that.
Yeah.
QR code. Very smart.
Thank you.
Now, is the idea is because parents are walking around with their children and you see the children are not like
Yes.
being active?
Yeah.
See, my only concern is just what, Councilwoman Sessions said is that once you put that down there, it kind of is going to encourage other people to start drawing on the blacktop, which is a blacktop walkway that we have, right? So I'm a little concerned about that and the upkeep of it because, as you know, as you walk on it more and more in the weather, it's going to get worn down, and we don't have someone that's going to be able to upkeep that. Are you going to be able to upkeep that if we do something like this?
Yes, I do have ideas of what I could do. Do you want to hear? Sure. All right. My school at Marlborough High School, they have an art club, and I'm very close with the teacher there, so I could possibly have them upkeep it for a few years.
And how about, is it only in certain sections, or are you talking about the whole walkway?
No, not the whole walkway. Do you know the Gagaball pit that was recently put here before like COVID and everything? I wanted to like add to that.
Go ahead, you could talk, Mom.
Like over by that section where the dog pit is and that little playground area?
Yeah, that's where like a lot of the projects are, and that's where a lot of the smaller kids congregate over there, yeah.
Yeah, that was my idea.
Now, do you use chalk to write this? I mean, what do you?
I was planning to use the paint because I know chalk
Paint?
can. Yeah.
Oh, so it's going to be paint.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Okay.
what do you
Washable
think, Dave?
paint,
You're the
or
one-
what kind of paint?
You're the
Latex
one
paint?
that maintains the park, Dave, a lot, so what are your questions?
The only question I have is where exactly were you going to do this? Is it the blacktop over where the slides are, like your mother was just saying, over by the ball pit? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, on the pavement on the walkway, like right in front.
So it's not going to be the walkway that goes around the pond?
It's gonna be. I'd like to have like a section, if that was possible.
around the pond. But not, but
In front of the Gaga ball.
Yeah, not going completely around.
So over by the ball pit area, right? Where they have the tires and stuff, I'm assuming?
is there a walkway there?
Yes. I have pictures of it as well.
Is it different than the walkway that goes around the pond?
No,
It's the same one?
it's the same one, yes.
Okay.
Is it better, like, I'm just thinking outside the box here a little, and it could add to the cost to this project, but would it be better off to blacktop a section in that area, off the walkway? Or is your whole idea set on the people walking around the walkway? Because my thing is, I would think it'd be better if it was off by itself somewhere rather than in the walkway, because then you could put your signage up and say this is what it's for. Again, even though you could put signs up on that walkway, once you start putting stuff on that blacktop, you're gonna have people with chalk and coloring, and it's gonna be very hard for us to upkeep it and keep it clean and keep it where it's, because there are a lot of people that walk on that walkway too. So I'm afraid that if people are walking on that walkway for health reasons and then there's kids in the walkway trying to do these games, they might start getting irritated.
Yeah, that was my concern.
So
too.
I think a better suggestion is in that area where you're talking, where the tire section is, the ball pit is, if we could get a blacktop area there and you could create 3 or 4 different activities for the kids to play, I think that would be your best bet, in my opinion.
I could do that. That's a great
And I guarantee if you ask a couple of these blacktop companies, they probably would donate blacktop. A lot of times they have extra blacktop when they're done with a job or stuff like that. So, I don't know how the board feels, but any suggestions?
talked about that.
What do you think?
I think that's a better idea, only because, like Scott said, a lot of elderly people walk there in the morning and throughout the day just to exercise or whatever, and if there's kids playing in there, they may get irritated and we're
Yeah.
going to get phone calls. But if you did it off the beaten path, so to speak, I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I kind of, she's going to put a lot of labor of love in doing this thing, I guess, and I would want to see most of the people go out there and see the work that she does. I mean, put it in a way where people can notice instead of tuck it away someplace. And if you don't know about it, you'll never find it. If she's going to spend hours in doing this stuff, I really need to take a look at the area, maybe get a designated area, but
Manny, I can
I
tell you,
understand what
I
you're
can,
saying, but to go and put her, she wants to do something, go put it in a quarter and hide away is.
it's 20
It
feet away
defeats the
from where
purpose
she's,
too, I think.
it's 20 feet off the walkway around the pond. You're 20 feet off the pond. It's in the middle of stuff that's already there, so it would be visible. You get the tire
Okay,
thing, you get the ball pit, you get the,
I think that
it's not going to be off the beaten path. It's just going to be away from where other people are, walking around a pond. You can't have, quite honestly, if there's kids playing in the way and you're trying to walk around a pond, it's going to create a problem. And if you go to the park, like I do quite often, there's people there all the time.
Yes.
So I agree. I think it's a great project, and I think if it's okay with you to put it over where those other activities are,
Yeah, I can do that.
and I could take Manny down there and show him so he feels comfortable with it. But
I think it changes what you wanted to do for us, because your main goal was you're seeing people walk around with kids and they're not being active. I just think it should be off the beaten path of the walkway, just because we will get a lot of people start complaining about, we already get people complaining about the geese in the walkway, so I can only imagine.
Devil's advocate, though,
So-
I think that these activities are simple enough and designed to kind of keep the flow of traffic moving. I don't think they're designed for the kids to sit there and linger there in the middle of the walkway for 15 minutes. It's, they're following the leap pads and hop over the log. So I think the original intent is to give the kids something to do as they're going around the walkway with their parents to keep them a little more engaged. So if you pull them off the walkway, I'm not opposed to that. If everybody likes that idea, I could get on board. But I do understand the original intent of kind of giving the kids an activity as they go around. I'm almost envisioning, stop one here, one activity with a little placard that explains what they have to do so that you know it's an official activity. And then, a quarter of the way around the walkway, another little station where they stop and do the same thing. I think it's a little bit similar to what they've done on the rail trail in Highland, where there's little activities fitness activities along the trail with little placards that explain what you do at each stop. So that's what I'm envisioning. But again, if everybody likes it off the trail, I can get on board.
Well, I can agree with that. I wasn't looking at it like that. That's a good point.
I mean, it could be like when you get to that section could be widened, is what
Yeah,
I'm
you
getting
could
at,
jut
right?
it off even if
You
you
kind of
wanted to.
widen that walkway section so that people that still are walking can walk. So you have like almost like a bicycle lane in a way where you have two lanes, right?
Yeah.
People keep walking, but then right off to the right of that, if you want to do that, you do your activity, right? It's not, like I'm saying, it's
I
not
like
like
that,
I'm
yeah.
saying it's way off the beaten path, it's right there. Because that's the longest straightaway we have for the walking path is right in that area, right there. So
Yep.
I think the best thing is I don't know when you plan on doing this.
I was
Time-wise.
planning over the summer because I am in school, of course, so it'd be a little bit difficult right now.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like we should have like a site visit
Okay.
so we could actually see where it's going, how long of a run it has to be, what we would have to do to the site, and then see if we could again, widen that path a little and then go on that, like have an off ramp. So, you guys have our email, just send us some dates of when you think you can meet and we'll set up a time we'll meet there. And then we'll go over
Okay.
that, all right?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Very good, nice. Anybody else have any questions besides that? All right, excellent, thank you.
Should I turn off the mic?
Yep,
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you. All right, moving along, we got comments on the agenda. Anybody got comments on the agenda? All right, so no new business, and unless anybody has new business that you want to bring up? Nope. All right, so workshop topics. The only thing I have on the workshop topic is the 2022 code book review and updates. So Councilman Cauchi and Councilman Zambito met with the committee some people from the planning board, the building inspector, Pat Hines, and this was the secondary code look at some of our codes. I think I copied you all on what I sent to our attorney based on those conversations. So we have a whole bunch of new codes going out there. And if I have it here, I don't know if I have it here. No, I didn't send it to Jeff, I sent it to Jerry. So these are the ones that we're looking at doing now. Open burn prohibited in certain zones. The business corridor district wasn't ever put into that zone. So, that was the business corridor zone that we created. So it's a new zone. So when the law was passed, that's a simple one. It's just that we never put the business corridor in the burn permit. Section 155.1, short-term rentals. So now that we have people starting to apply for short-term rentals, we're looking at the definition of what was actually put into the code. And a short-term rental is not something that someone lives in and rents out their rooms. It's something that it's a structure across the street or next to their house that they're renting out. When someone lives in the house and rents out a room, that's called a bed and breakfast, obviously, right? So there's two separate things, a short-term rental and a bed and breakfast, and they get kind of confusing sometimes. But the easiest way to understand it, bed and breakfast is owner-occupied. Short-term rental, the owner does not occupy the premises. So in order to do that, we had to change, you could see the blue line we crossed out to make it so it's more definitive to what a short-term rental is. and that we also still limited it to, you only can have 2 of these in town of Marlborough. And then bread and breakfast, we basically just changed the one word, permanently owned occupied structure, basically saying you have to live in that house. You have to be a permanent resident. So basically saying you can't come in here, buy houses, and then just start renting them out as bed and breakfasts. No, you have to actually live here in the town. You have to have ownership. 15512, use and regulations. So I think this came from Pat and I think the whole committee, but with the use limited to 50% of structures. So this wasn't clearly defined in our code. And a lot of these came out because a lot of these things came up at the planning board process and a lot of times delayed the planning board process. So this is just one of those instances. 155 attachment 2. This is so that if we create more density within the hamlet, if someone now has water, sewer, and natural gas, because we never put someone that had natural gas, and ever since we extended natural gas line throughout the hamlets of Marlborough, there's a couple parcels that would be eligible for this density decrease and to be able to build X amount of homes. So that was something that was put in based on some of the updates that were done in the hamlet. Section 15527B2, this is to change what we would consider a loading dock. And so this comes out in a lot of the planning board processes now, like if you're in the hamlet, do you want to have a loading dock area that's the size of a tractor trailer? Can the planning board have discretion over that or not? Can it be smaller? Can it be off-site? Can it be somewhere? So basically we made it determined by the discretion of the planning board. So the planning board has a little discretion here instead of just steadfast, it has to be 60 feet long and 12 feet wide and 15 feet high. That the planning board is actually going to have some discretion on, common sense discretion on what's to be done there. And then 114.5 general requirement changes that just adding the 12 inches into this code here. So that's all we put out there now. Nothing earth-shattering, but things that actually affect the planning board when they have process. There's a couple other ones that were discussed that were I'm still working over with Jerry to see is it feasible or not to do some of the changes that I think some of them were by Pat Hines. And to see if they work within our code or not. But these are the ones that are going to come before us. So that's basically, you guys want to discuss any of those in the work topic? That's what it's about. Do you have any questions on any of that? It's pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions. And I want to thank you guys for doing that. Did a good job with that. So I think the next thing we should really do is have like a joint town board, planning board, and ZBA meeting, just to go over some of these changes that we're implementing and make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody gets the right information. So I think that's something that maybe next month or so, or 2 months, we'll actually try to get all 3 boards together and kind of have that conversation. So that's something I'll have to set up. All right, so we're going to move on to correspondence. First one is from Kathy Sylvester. And it's to myself and the town board. It says, Dear Supervisor Corcoran, as a resident of the town of Marlborough, I'm very pleased to note that there will be a line dancing at the Clue at Chance Park again this summer. It will be held every Monday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. from July 11th, 20 through July 29th, 2022. I'm asking for the town board to please waive the fee to use the pavilion. I would like to thank the supervisor and the town board for this program for this summer. So this is a program we had every year up to COVID. What changed in COVID, it got cut out of the budget because obviously we weren't doing it. So this year, Kathy talked to a gentleman who does line dancing, Frank, and for the death of me, I can't remember Frank's last name, but he does this for a living. Cactus Pete doesn't do it anymore. He retired. So she found Frank here who done this for many, many years. So I talked to both of them, and they agreed that if we could waive the fees for the park, which I said we always done before, but we actually paid Cactus Pete. So obviously we don't have it in the budget, so I asked Frank, would he do it for a fee, and he agreed to do it for $5 per person. So the people would come, they would pay the $5, and then they would have their activities. And a lot of these are senior citizens and people that just love to do line dancing. So I think it's a great recreational idea. It doesn't really cost us much. It doesn't cost us anything except giving up the pavilion. And I think, Danielle, we talked about having those dates available. It's
When's it start?
Monday evening, 7 to 9, and it's from July 11th to August 29th. Almost the same times as the camp, but it's evening time, 7 to 9. It's the same time they used to do it all the time.
Yeah, that we used to do when we played bocce.
And a lot of times it's, as they're doing line dancing, bocce's playing, so it's kind of a funny thing. Yeah. So I'm just asking for the board for a motion if you want to approve this by
I'll make that
Kathy's.
motion.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Hi.
Thank you. I'll let her know. All right, so Marlborough Youth Baseball and Softball would like to have the town. I got this one? I got both of them. Is this both of them? I think so. 4-1 and 4-7-3. Well, they want to, the Marlborough Youth Baseball and Softball would like to have the town ball fields for the spring season 4-1 through 7/31 on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays 4:30 to 8, and Saturdays 9 to 12. And then they also would like the soccer field on Tuesday, April 5th and April 25th from 5:30 to 6:45 for the rookies practice. This is just an additional 2 days to the larger practice schedule. And I believe this went all through your office, Danielle, with Colleen and you?
All the fields are available on all those dates, and we have their insurance on file.
Yep.
So they're all good to go with me.
Okay, so all their insurance is on file as normal, so we just need the board's permission that they could use these fields. I need a motion.
Well, before we do that, you're on the board there, right? Could you please have them not park in the no parking spots up there on the top of that hill?
Yes, I can have that emphasized, absolutely.
Okay. Because if we ever have to get an ambulance up there or something like that, that's going to be all blocked up.
Yep, good point, Ed, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And with that said, I will make that motion.
All right. Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye?
Yes.
Thank you. Sherry, do you relay that message?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so just a note here. So this is for the polling site, 2022 polling site agreement. Election scheduled Tuesday, June 28th, primary election. Polling hours are 6 to 9. But they have to be here on Monday, June 27th to set up, which means that's our board meeting. So we will have to reschedule our board meeting, or we could have it upstairs. So I would think we could probably have it upstairs as long as nothing else is going on. But I want to ask your guys' opinion. You want to totally reschedule or just have it upstairs?
Either way.
This is on June 27th. I would like to have it upstairs, but,
That's fine.
I'll check with the school tomorrow if you'd like.
so Danielle, you'll ask the school tomorrow if we can have it upstairs? And on the general election, it doesn't affect us. That's November 7th.
It's my birthday.
And Wednesday, November 9th, so it goes to the 9th. So we're good, it's just the June 27th. So I'll have the clerk's office check with the school, and then we'll send out notice, and we'll publicize it when we get to that date that we're going to have the meeting upstairs. But, okay, just to give you guys an update. That's all I have on correspondence. So this is time for public comments. Anybody got public comments? Tim, come on up.
Hello, Ted Millar from Milton. I just have a question. I noticed that some excavators have started working at that clearing at 9W and Old Indian Road, and I've asked some neighbors if they know what's going in there, and nobody seems to know. Is there any?
It's like a 6,000 square foot storage building.
It's a storage?
Yep, like a storage building.
Okay.
But right now, they're just clearing. They have, by our code, they can clear up to a half acre, is it, Tom? A half acre of their property before they get to the planning board. In this case, he's actually even excavating some of the rock just because he needs to know how much rock's there. The building department has been there 3 times, and he's actually asked them to put up the silk fence, which they have. And Patty Brooks is working with the applicant to come to the planning board, and he's probably going to have to go to the ZBA because he may need a variance. So that's where she is right now, to see if she has to do that or not. But yeah, that's what's just going there. Unfortunately, it would be nice if it was not that, but it's a low impact, which is good. So that means not a lot of traffic or anything like that. So that's what's going there. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Come on.
I don't know if this is a town board thing, but I wanted to draw to your attention, at the Milton Landing, there's and I want to be respectful, but someone died.
Click.
Press the button.
Okay, so at the Milton Landing, someone died and they have a
little monument thing
Yeah,
going on? Yes, I
and-
know I've seen it there multiple,
And
myself
it's-
as the deputy supervisor have been there multiple times. I'm
it's
just afraid to
growing
touch it.
now, and there's a cross and a picture.
Yeah.
And
I'm kind of like, I don't know who it is yet, but I don't want to touch it, to be disrespectful of any kind, but at the same time, it really
and it's,
can't stay there.
I
So-
didn't know, and it's kind of by the garbage can. It's really, it's just, and it's a young person,
Yeah.
you feel so bad, but I don't know what the answer is, but. What did you say? I think it's going to disappear soon. Oh, you think so? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen it down there. About a month or so ago, we noticed it there and didn't want to disturb it. But
Yeah.
it definitely, now that the spring's coming and we,
And there's a
we're moving
cross
there's
there.
a lot of things
and-
going on. We have to have it removed. But thank you. Yes. Anybody else? All right, then we're going to move on to Resolution 41, to change the Town of Marlborough water rate and billing cycle. So this came about, I met with our superintendent, Charlie Maggio, our budget officer. We went over what's Newburgh's going to be charging us for this year. We have to get control. We have a little deficit in our water district, and we want to get this under control. I met with Councilman Zambito on this also to come to a consensus of where we want to go with this. And our consensus is we want to get this deficit paid off within 1 year. The deficit right now, for transparency, is $260,000 in our district. So in order to do that, there's going to be a $2 temporary increase per 1,000 gallons. And we also are going to be setting up a capital improvement fund reserve, and that's going to be 49 cents per 1,000 gallon. And so what I asked Tina Rosa to do, who does our water billing, and she's reluctantly going to do this for me, but we called our BAS company to break up the water bill so everybody, for transparency, can see what your water rate is going to be billed for. And you'll see in the resolution that our operating expense, and that includes the water rate, and for us to actually operate the facility for our guys to work there and their salaries and all that, is $6.66 per 1,000 gallons up to 75,000. It's $7.66 per 1,000 gallons for 150,000 gallons, and operating rate is $8.66 per 1,000 gallons over 150,000 gallons. And then we have a Newburgh debt rate. So this is the debt rate for the chlorinization plant. Again, people don't realize what we have to pay for that debt into Newburgh. I think there's about $1.5 million left on that bond that we're paying Newburgh when they updated their chlorinization plant, required by the DEC in New York City. And so right now, that rate costs us $2.71 per 1,000 gallon. I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head, I believe that goes to 2034 still. So, and then the deficit is $2 per 1,000 gallon, and that is going to be probably for the 1 year. And then capital improvement, we're going to start a capital improvement fund. This is 49 cents, and that is for improvements that are needed within the district. Right now, we need improvements on our water tower tank right now. We need some software upgrades, and we also need meters to replace our old system that we have of the Badger system. So, and there's other improvements that are needed within the district too. Just for transparency reason, we don't have a reserve capital improvement fund right at this moment, so this is going to start that. So having said that, we also are going to change our billing cycle to 4 times a year rather than 3 times a year, so hopefully that will alleviate some of the pain of getting these bills in one big shot. So we're trying to spread it out over a 4 billing cycle instead of 3, and hopefully that'll ease the pain. But just so the board knows, this is something we really, really have to do because we cannot have a district in the deficit. We either have to pay it off this way or we have to take a loan out to pay it off. We can't use general funds to pay off a deficit. It has to be paid for by the district and the district owners of the waters.
And that $2 every 1,000 gallons is going to pay it off in 1 year?
1 year, yep. Okay. That's where we came up with the number, so.
Scott, do we know for a fact that this is only a 1-year increase? Because it does say temporary in the resolution, but also does not note a specific end date.
Well, it's temporary. We didn't put 1 year because, yeah, it could flow over to the, you know what I mean? So we're actually going to be 3 billing cycles this year and probably 1 billing cycle next year. So I say a year, but technically it goes to the following year. So it's not this year. That's why I just put it the way we put it. But it's definitely not going to be something longer than that. I wouldn't believe, because we calculate the numbers. This is the deficit. This is how much water that's typically used during a regular year, and you take that number, and it's a pretty simple calculation. That's how we come up with all the rates. So the other thing is Newburgh also did raise their rates on us again slightly because with the supply chain issues with going on in the world, of course, chlorine prices went up. So chlorine prices went up, we have to pay our share. So again, a lot of this is for transparency reason and letting people know where their money's actually going. We averaged it out that we figured that a typical homeowner, this is maybe like $20 a billing cycle. So it's not a huge number, but you know, in today's world, $20 is, you know, could make or break someone some, but it's just something we really, really have to do, unfortunately. So trust me, I'm in the water district. I don't want to do this.
Get in the sewer district.
You know, so it's what we have to do. So having said all that, Resolution 41, March 28, 2022, Resolution 41 to change the Town of Marlborough water rates and billing cycle. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following. Whereas the Town of Marlborough needs to increase the water rate by $2.49 per 1,000 gallons, and whereas $2 of that increase is temporary due to the deficit, and 49 cents of that increase is for all future billing to cover the cost of capital improvement, and whereas the Town of Marlborough Water District will use a breakdown of the water rates in order to show transparency on how the rate is allocated. The breakdown is as follows. Operating rate, $6.66 per 1,000 gallons up to 75,000 gallons of use. Operating rate of $7.66 per 1,000 gallons up to 150,000 gallons of use. Operating rate of $8.66 per 1,000 gallons over the 150,000 gallons used. Newburgh debt rate per 1,000 gallons is $2.71. The 2021 deficit rate per 1,000 gallons is $2. Capital improvement rate per 1,000 gallons is 49 cents. The Town of Marlborough Water District billing cycle will change from 3 times a year to 4 times a year and will invoice customers on the first week of February, May, August, and November. The new billing cycle will improve cash flow for the district and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Molinelli?
I just have one question.
Sure.
For Charlie. Do we have everybody in Marlborough hooked up to the sewer yet, or are we still lagging? Same 2 people?
I got 2 of them this year.
Okay. I know what anything new in the sewer, on water, sewer.
It's new,
It's in. So we got two more out of there that we have to get in. Mhm. The one on Church Street's done? Good, thank you.
He's been on it.
Yes,
Councilwoman Sessa?
Yes.
Councilman Kauki?
Yes.
Councilman Zambito? Yes. Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes. Okay. Eddie, it's your time.
well, I know it's early, you sure you don't want to stay longer?
No.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you, everybody. Gail, happy birthday to your son, Gail.